Hello, everyone, and welcome to Football Talk Podcast. My name's Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Now, this is always my favorite show to do during the off season, as I play the role of Liverpool sporting director, and I present my vision in terms of which players need to be sold and which players need to be bought. So I'm going to present my ideas, and I think John Henry will need to get his wallet out like he did last summer, as I have a long shopping list when it comes to signing new players. But before we begin, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, to start the show, we will present the players that I believe should be sold this summer. The first player is Yaros. Now, he is a goalkeeper that was out on loan to Ajax last season and had a decent spell there. Unfortunately, he picked up a late injury towards the latter stages of the season, but I believe that this might be the right time for him to move on. He's a player that has gained a lot of experience over the years. He's actually been selected for the Czech Republic national team. So, because of that, it might be at his best interest to move on and secure first team football elsewhere. So, he can be a number one goalkeeper at a club. So, I feel like this might be the right time for him to do that. Then you've got Reece Williams, who I believe will be leaving on a free very shortly, and that also includes Calvin Ramsey, whose contract expires very soon. Then you've got McAllister, a player that definitely splits the fan base. For me, I don't think he is the right type of player that we need in our midfield. I know he's a player with great technical ability, but what he lacks is physicality. He lacks tenaciousness in that midfield, and he's someone that lacks energy, quite frankly. And I feel like it was very much highlighted last season as he was always pushed around or was left short in midfield. So for me, he just doesn't fit the profile that we need. And even under a new coach in Andoni Iraola, he's going to have to buckle up and really work hard within the team. And I don't think he's got that in the locker anymore. I think all those years of playing a huge volume of games has caught up with him, unfortunately, which is natural. So I feel like maybe he would be better suited to move elsewhere. I think a possible destination could be in Spain, where he would be interesting clubs like Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid as well. So a move to La Liga could be on the cards, and I feel like it might suit his current status in terms of his career. And I think like his skill set will be a bit more complementary in terms of how they play football in Spain. The next player is Endo. I believe Endo has a year left in his contract, so therefore, I don't expect him to have a long-term future at the club. And due to having a bit more of a bit part role within the squad last season, I think he might want to move on. So unfortunately, he will be departing this summer. Another player that I feel like will be departing as well is Curtis Jones. Now, for me, I wouldn't sell him, but I'm just going based on what could be a reality right now. And as it stands, he's been in continuous dialogue with Inter Milan since January. And because of that, I feel like there's very much strong interest in the player. And he's already spoken to Chiesa about what life is like in Italy. So he's already doing his homework in that regards. So I feel like his head has been turned, and I think he wants to move away from Liverpool and join Inter Milan this summer. So that looks like it's going to happen at some point. Then we've got Bajtic, who I'm not sure in terms of his status, if he's injured or if he's still completing his rehab in order to regain full fitness once again. I have no idea. So for me, if possible, we can try and either loan him out or sell him at a cut price. There will be interest from teams in La Liga, as he had a good loan spell with Las Palmas not so long ago. So that might be a possible destination for him. Then you've got Harvey Elliott, who will be given a chance to present an impression on the new coach. But I think, in terms of his ability and the way that Liverpool should be playing under Iraola, I'm not sure if it's the right fit. Some may argue and say, well, look, Elliott really excelled when he played on a good club, and that was a similar style of brand of football, um, which is correct. But I think since then, he has lost a bit of pace. He's not quite as dynamic as he was before. And I feel like he would be better suited playing in a bit of a slower league. So a team that he was strongly into last season was Red Bull Leipzig. Maybe a move to the Bundesliga would make a lot of sense. So let's see, what a possible destination could be for Javier next season. Chiesa, I expect him to leave, even though he has said that he will have a discussion with Iraola. I don't think he has the capacity to play with high intensity in the front line. So therefore, the right thing would be for him to return to Italy, as there's a lot of interest from him, and I feel like that would be the most likely destination for him as well. And the final player is Cody Gakpo. For me, I don't think he's good enough to start for Liverpool. He could be a decent squad player, but he would be an expensive squad player based on the new contract that he signed last year. So because of that, I feel like this might be the time to cash in on him and try and sign someone that would be an upgrade in terms of ability wise, but also someone that's a bit more direct and that offers a variation in their play, especially when they play on the wings. So for me, this would be the right time to try and sell Gakpo. He has generated a lot of interest. So you've got teams like Bayern Munich and Tottenham that are willing to pay 70 odd million pounds to acquire his services. So if we were to get that bid, I think Liverpool should do everything in their power to accept it, and that money can be reinvested into the squad. So these are players that I think we should be selling this summer. Now, in terms of the player profile, which players or which positions do I think Liverpool need to address? Now, in terms of the centre back role, we've already got a player coming through in Jeremy Jacquet. That deal was agreed in January, so he'll be joining us at pre-season very soon. But I still believe we need to sign another a centre back who I would view as the long term successor to Van Dijk. Of course, that could be something we do next summer rather than now. But I feel like with the departure of Kanate, we may just lack that experience in the back line. So therefore, signing Van Dijk's long-term successor makes a lot of sense to do right now rather than later on. And in terms of the right back, believe that we may not see Conor Bradley anytime soon. He's got a very severe knee injury. It could take him at least a year to recover. So because of that, unfortunately, he can't be relied upon, and in fact, might not even be present in terms of his availability next season. So because of that, I think we need to sign another right back, and ideally someone that will be a starter in our team. Now, in terms of the midfield, one position we haven't addressed for a number of years is the defensive midfield role. And I truly believe we need to make that sign this summer, especially under Iraola, where we're going to need a proper number six to protect the back line. I think it's even more important for us to address that position this summer. So a DM is a must, as well as another midfielder that can play a box to box role. I think that would make a lot of sense. Someone that will ideally be replacing Curtis Jones, who looks like he's on the verge of leaving Liverpool. And then for the left wing, I would say someone that's an upgrade on Cody Gakpo, especially if he's deciding to leave as well. So someone that can come in and have an instant impact right away. The right wing, it goes without saying, why we need a right winger. Unfortunately, we let Mohamed Salah leave on a free transfer. So because of that, we need to sign an automatic replacement. But as well as that, I believe we should sign another player that can cover right wing, but also play as a striker. So I guess on paper, this player would be replacing Chiesa in the squad, but also provide cover for Ekitike until he returns from injury. So here is the list of players that I would like John Henry to sign for Liverpool this summer. The first one is Jacquet, so that deal has already been agreed. Schlotterbeck is the player that I believe we should be looking to sign. He's the first choice for me, and quite frankly, there is no other choice. He's the one and only player that I feel like we should sign this summer. An alternative signing would have been Senesi, who would have been a great addition to our squad due to his experience and his ball playing style of play. But unfortunately, it was announced today that he has signed for Tottenham. So, of course, he's no longer available. Now, in terms of the right back, I would love to go for Livramento. I believe this player has everything in his locker. He can play on both fullback positions if needed, as he's played left back quite a bit for Newcastle last season. He's fantastic on the ball, very confident player, great passing range, great crosser, and pretty much an all rounder in my book. So for me, he would be a great signing. Of course, he'd probably cost a bit of money, but he would be the long term right back for Liverpool. And he's also homegrown, which is another tick box in terms of recruitment. But there are other options. If he's not available or if Newcastle refuse to do business with us, you've got the likes of Coyote who plays for Brentford. He would be a good option. Although I would have slight concerns from a technical standpoint in terms of his crossing and final third sort of distribution. But as an all-round defender, I think he could be a smart signing if Livramento is not available. I also like the look of Pedro Porro and Jess Spence, but unfortunately they won't come cheap as Spurs are very hard to negotiate when it comes to finalizing transfer deals. Now moving on to the defensive midfield role, Tchouaméni would be the dream signing. Of course he would be, but he's not realistic. So for me, uh, the player that would kind of be a close fit to that type of profile is Lamine Kamara. He's a player that replaced Tchouaméni at Monaco when Tchouaméni signed for Real Madrid, and he is someone that has everything in his locker. He can play with the ball. He's a ball carrier. He's a progressive player. But from a defensive standpoint, he's a protector of the back line. He's physical. He's powerful, but has a good understanding of the game. Great reader of the game. So I feel like he's the all-rounder that we need, but also the number six that has been missing within our ranks for a number of years now. There's also players like Sengare that are similar profile. I also like another player called Bouadi who plays for Lille. He's just switched his alliance to Morocco, so we'll be seeing him in the World Cup. But if I was to make a number one choice out of the three mentioned, I would go for Kamara. Now, in terms of the centre mid, initially I had Wharton in my list, but since Iraola has been appointed, I feel like the coach may be in favour to sign Alex Scott instead of Wharton. Alex Scott has really excelled in the last 12 months, and I feel like he's ready to hit that next gear. So maybe he can do that at Liverpool if Iraola was to sign his former player. Excuse me. So I think that would be a smart signing. Plus, he's homegrown, which ticks another checklist there. Now, in terms of the left wing, for me, Barcola would be the ultimate signing. Uh, but it remains to be seen if he is the type of profile that Liverpool want to get. For me, I think he has everything in his locker to really transform himself and become one of the best attackers in Europe. Excuse me. He does have those capabilities. The only question mark would be his finishing. He can be a little bit erratic in front of goal, but he's someone that creates a lot of opportunities for himself. So if he's able to refine that calmness in front of goal, I feel like he can definitely increase his tally um, with joining another club like Liverpool. He's already had such a great sort of goal to assist ratio with PSG in the last couple of seasons. If he was to really improve on his finishing, he could have amazing numbers. So for me, he would be the ultimate signing. But I can also see the club going for a different profile and not necessarily a marquee slash star type of signing. Players that we've looked at in the past are the likes of Sade, who plays for Brentford, as well as Antonio Nusa. Um, Believe it or not, I probably would have actually gone for Gordon as my first choice left winger. I feel like he just fits the bill in terms of what we need in our team. Uh, but as we all know, he's off to Barcelona, so he's out of range now in terms of us trying to sign him. Now over to the right wing, we've got Diomande, a player that's been heavily linked with the club. The only stumbling block would be the transfer fee, as Leipzig are asking for a huge amount of money. A lot of sources are suggesting that he could sign very soon. If I'm being honest with you guys, I'm not as optimistic. In fact, I can see him staying at Leipzig for one more season. But the big question is, what happens with Liverpool? If Diamond is not available, what do we do? Well, we need to sign a right winger. It's not even a debate. We need to replace Mohamed Salah in the team. So an alternative signing could be Akli Luch. He's a player that plays for Monaco. He's not as quick as Diomande, but what he brings to the table that he is a technically gifted player and he can be very effective as a creative winger on the right hand side. So he would be a very interesting profile. But with that said, if we signed either Diomande or Akluch, both are still quite young and inexperienced at the highest level. So therefore, Liverpool might need to sign a player that has experience and can almost guarantee an instant impact in the Premier League. And that player could be Jared Bowen. He's a player that has been prolific for West Ham for a number of years. And what's great about his profile is that he can play right wing and as a striker. Now, with West Ham relegated, uh, it gives us a great opportunity to sign the player. He may be 29 years of age, but I feel like when you lose a player of Salah's quality, you need to replace him with experience, someone that can come in and have an instant impact. So I think Jared Bowen would be a great signing for Liverpool due to his versatility, and I believe he'll be available at a good rate, which would be around £40 million. Now, in terms of the total expense there, we'll be spending 440 million based on the valuation that I presented. So just to read the prices out, I think Jacquet could be, well, Jacquet's already been bought, hasn't he? So he was bought for 60 million. Schlotterbeck has a release clause of 50 million, so that's a decent price for a player of his quality. Livramento, I've written 60 million. It could be a bit higher, but that's the kind of range I think he would be sold for. Lamine Kamara for 30 million, Alex Scott for 60 million, Marcolo for 70, Diomande for 70, which might be a bit low based on the rumors, but I don't see Liverpool paying more than £80 million for a 19-year-old winger, but we'll have to wait and see. And the final player is Jared Bowen at 40 million there. Now, in terms of recouping some money, because we can't just spend. We need to recoup some money with sales. So what do Liverpool do? So for me, I was already presented the list of players that will be sold. So, in regards to transfer fees, I think we could definitely try and get a big price tag for Cody Gakpo. I think he could be bought for around £70 million. Excuse me. Tottenham and Bayern Munich have been strongly linked to the player, so that could be, a potential bids coming through and hopefully a conclusion in terms of a deal being agreed. Then you've got the likes of Chiesa, who I think will be available for about 10, £15 million, which is realistic. Bashir for 10 million might sound a bit high because he's not really active, but I think he still holds a bit of value when it comes to Spanish football, with that being his nationality. So maybe we can agree a deal with a Spanish team in La Liga. Then you got Endo, who I think will be sold for about £5 million. McAllister, I still believe he has a lot of stock in terms of his transfer valuation. We've got the World Cup coming up, so if he has a decent run of games, then that can boost the price even further. But I think 70 million is quite realistic to attain for his departure. Reece Williams and Kyle Ramsey will be leaving, so they are leaving the club on a free, so no money recouped there. Elliot, I think he could possibly leave for about £30 million. Yaros, a £10 million offer sounds reasonable. And I think Curtis Jones will be sold for around £30 million, as Liverpool and Inter Milan are in continuous dialogue in terms of the transfer fee. There's still £5-10 million adrift, but I'm sure they will meet the common ground and try and agree a deal, and hopefully we can get some money out of that situation. Although, if it was my choice, I would keep Curtis Jones rather than sell him. I feel like it makes more sense for us to have a player like him within the ranks rather than letting him go. But if a player does not want to stay at the club, there's not much we can do in this scenario. So, in terms of revenue being generated with this amount of sales, we would receive about uh, apologies, £240 million. So in terms of net, we would be spending £205 million, which doesn't sound like a crazy amount, if I'm being honest with you. Just look at the way Tottenham, well, not Tottenham, well, they have in the past, but look at teams like Arsenal, Man City, Manchester United, Chelsea. They spend a lot more when it comes to net spend. So I believe that if Liverpool want to get back to the top, they have to reinvest in the squad. And with a new coach in Andoni Iraola coming through, we have to make sure we give him all the backing that he needs. So I feel like these players that I present today could certainly fit the bill in terms of playing to his style of play, but also I feel like they can flourish under his leadership and management as well. So for me, it would be an exciting prospect to get these players, but only time will tell if we do sign them. But sticking to my vision there, with all these players that I've said let's sign, what's the plan? Where do they fit? Are they in the first 11 or would they be regarded as squad players? So that's something I can present right now. So in terms of the starting 11 for Liverpool, on paper, when everyone's fit, Allison would be the goalkeeper. And in terms of the back four, you've got Kerkez on your left side, Livermore on your right side of defense, and you've got Schlotterbeck and Van Dijk, with Van Dijk playing on the right side of centre back, as Schlotterbeck is a left-footed, so that gives you a different balance in the back line. And in terms of the double pivot, I'm sticking with our current players in Gravenberg and Szoboszlai. And in terms of your advanced midfielders, I'm going for Barcola on the left, Diomande on the right, Florian Wirtz in that number 10 role, and then you've got Isak leading the line. So I feel like there's plenty of quality in this first 11. You've got two fullbacks that will be attacking the flank and providing creativity. Then you've got two solid defenders in Stotterbeck and Van Dijk. And not only that, their passing range would be unbelievable as a combination. So both of them can produce those diagonal or vertical passes to split the opponent's defense. And because of that, it gives you an extra ammunition from the back, which is something we lacked last season. So I feel like that could be an interesting duo on the pitch. And then you've got Szoboszlai, Gravenberg. Gravenberg, I would probably instruct him to be a bit more of a defensive midfielder, so play as a number 6 like he did in the season when we won the league. And Szoboszlai plays that box-to-box role, so there'll be a good balance between the two. And Florian Wirtz, I want him to play in his natural form, to play as a number 10, to be influential in that final third, and playing in the Iraola style of play. I think he'll be given the license to roam around and express himself. And then you've got two direct wingers in Barcola and Diomande. Of course, with Diomande, he's able to cut in and shoot with his left foot, whereas Barcola will go on the outside and will come on the inside if needed to present himself in goal scoring opportunities. And I feel like he'll definitely create a lot of chances for himself. And not only for himself, I think both wingers will help provide the service for Alexander Isak, which he wasn't getting enough of last season. And I think if he's able to get the right service, we could have a very interesting season where Isak, scores the big numbers that we expect to see from him, and a player of his quality as well. So that would be the first 11. Now, in terms of the second 11, the team or the players that will provide cover for the starting lineup, you've got Mamadishvili in goal, then you've got Tsimikas at left back, Leone and Jake as your two centre backs. And in this scenario, I've presented Joe Gomez as the right back option. On paper, he's also the fifth choice centre back, but due to the uncertainty of Bradley's future, of course, with him being out for so long with a serious injury, I'm going to present Joe Gomez as the right back option. And in terms of your double pivot, you've got Alex Scott and you've got Kamara, and then you've got Ngoma on the left. Frimpong playing a bit more further up as a right wing on the right hand side, and then you've got Trey Nyoni to cover the position in midfield, and then you've got Giles Bowen leading the line up top. But in this scenario, let's say Conor Bradley is available, he would probably be the second choice right back in this scenario. Joe Gomez will fall into becoming a fifth choice centre back, and then you've got Frimpong further up. Or Frimpong is dropped, and then you've got Bowen playing as the right winger, and then you've also got the return of Ekitike to lead the line as well. So you've got those two players also, in contention to return to a squad at some point of next season. Although I'm not too sure on Conor Bradley, which is probably why in this scenario, Bradley wouldn't even be on the team sheet here. It would be Frimpong at right back, Bowen at right wing, and then Ekitike up top. But hopefully, Bradley is able to make a recovery and is available for team selection in the upcoming campaign. So this is my lineup. So let me know what you guys think. Do you feel like I've gone a bit ahead of myself in terms of the shopping list of signing too many players? Are they the right profile? And do you believe that this team is strong enough to compete for all the titles next season? So feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.